Ladies and gentlemen, it is a holiday. It's January 6th. And the Democrats are holding a candlelight vigil. I kid you not. I don't understand it. This is not a joke. Democratic lawmakers on the 5th anniversary of January 6th attack on U.S. Capitol. Why are they holding candles?
Ashley Babbitt.
But you know that's not really why.
Mm-hmm.
We went out the Senate door, made a right turn, opened another door, and we were within 20 feet of those rioters, of those insurrectionists. One of them looked at me and said, "There he is, get him." Because of the work of my brave police officers, led by Mike Lazinski, I wasn't hurt.
That was actually me. I was asking for grilling tips.
You see Mike
Let us never mince words about what happened again. Those who try to lie about it, those who try to make up myths about it,
I'm just not interested in listening to whatever he's talking about.
Yeah, let's talk about a myth that's still perpetuated. I had to correct people in real time who are very high-level influencers, conservative influencers. I didn't steal the lectern. I'm still having that 5 years from now. I just got my first community note this year. People still believe I actually took that thing home.
The community note saying you didn't?
Yes. You can ask Grok now. Grok now says I moved it.
Grok
said I moved it, didn't take it.
Right.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, you
which is
picked
great.
it up and moved it and put it down.
Yeah.
Like
Relocation.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just unlicensed furniture moving.
Via Getty's relocation service.
You know, guys, this video of Chuck Schumer, I walked out the door and he said, "There he is, get him." I'm so over it. I'm completely over it. I don't care about any of this. It is a bunch of fake people saying fake shit nonstop all the time. I've been over the holiday break. I talked to a lot of people who have been expressing that it's just the same story every day. That nothing's changing. Now, don't get me wrong. Trump has done some stuff, but it feels like it's just, again, with all due respect to Dan Bongino, it's disappointing. If not Dan, then who? We thought he was going to go in, and then he comes out and he's like, yeah, nothing. We can't do anything. Nothing to see here. Like Epstein killed himself. So everybody's just continually disappointed. Nothing ever happens, right? Don't get me wrong, like a lot of happenings have happened in the past couple of months. And over the past year, there's been a lot happening. But in the political space, the day-to-day, it is mind-numbing to listen to the Democrats. A candlelight vigil, it's been 5 years. We know you're lying. Why are we bothering with this? I don't get it. Why are these people still in office? What is happening?
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, like, it's kind of a good thing if politics gets boring. Like, C-SPAN should be boring to watch. Like, that's historically how politics operated, is for wonks. They had, like, a slur. We called them wonks because it's like, you guys are nerds. And, if things go well with the Trump administration, I mean, if this trajectory continues and then into potentially advanced presidency, hopefully politics is back to just being like a snooze fest and people can go back to their lives. I mean, that's been the big issue. That's been the big issue with why we're seeing like so much slop in the political zeitgeist, is because it's not boring. And it's like, again, what we were talking about earlier, it's like, no, we're talking about life and death. We're talking about the country we're going to leave to our kids, these sorts of things. Like, we should take this a little bit more seriously. People love the sensational. They love that. So it's like, maybe like returning the boring. I know it's bad for us, bad for business, but like there's something to that.
But the only thing about that, though, is it's a double-edged sword, right? And it really kind of goes to your point earlier. It's always going to be a football kick down further and further and further. If we go back to that, it's going to lead to what has got us in the situation that we're in the first place. Oh, you just vote Republican down the ticket. You have no idea, or Democrat down the ticket. You have no idea what's going on. You couldn't even name your congressman or woman. You have no idea what's happening. And then that leads to the decades of corruption that we're now trying to fight against. That's what I said. We did a very bad job as talking heads, influencers, creators, whatever you want to call us. We did a really bad job, myself included, of the American people understanding that one election is not going to make America utopia. It's not going to happen. You're talking about at least 50 years of just horrible, horrific corruption all day, every day. But with everyone being interested in what's going on and everybody getting to the bottom of what's happening, eventually you're going to get to this point where nobody can do it well enough.
Right.
And then the question goes, well, what happens then? What happens with all of the people, all of America, or enough of them at least, that are like, no one's going to do what we need to do? Does that lead to government overthrow? What does that lead? Where does that lead? And so the truth is, what we're all debating right now, and where the American people find themselves, and why you feel this thing going on that you don't really know what you're feeling, is we're in the middle of both of those spectrums right this second.
Right. Well, but either side of those spectrums, either way, you're going to get gridlock, because it's like
right.
Everyone's asleep at the wheel.
Something has to give.
Yeah.
Something has to give at some point.
And that's why the MAGA movement has been really like a veil lifted in many ways, because like you had the 90s, like Francis Fukuyama coming out and saying like, we've reached the end of history, like social democracy, social liberalism is the final stage of government, like we're not going to progress past this is the natural conclusion of political philosophy, we're at the last man, these sorts of things. And I think everyone kind of subliminally thought that. I think everyone like across the West was like, yeah, that's probably correct. And then Brexit happens, and then Trump happens. Everyone sits back and goes, oh, no, history is still unfolding.
Yeah.
And then it's been dramatic. I mean, these last 8 years have been like dramatic. I mean, our grandchildren are going to read about this in the history books. But it's gotten to the point now where everyone has takes. Everyone has a political philosophy. Everyone has different varying goals. And now that the big tent, because we're not in an election cycle, is kind of unraveling a little bit, we're going to see now, again, gridlock. We have gridlock again.
Well, I somewhat agree with you, but when you said grandchildren, you mean more like AI, robot, facsimile grandchildren.
That's what I'm going for, yeah.
Where
That's
no
the
one's
dream.
having kids. And actually, it does seem like people are having kids like crazy right now.
Yeah.
At least in our sphere. And maybe because we're addressing it and saying, like,
The daycares are
you have
full.
12.
Yeah, the daycares are full.
Have you seen the demographic projections in Pennsylvania, where
Is it
by the end of the century,
all Muslim?
No. By the end of the century, 20% of Pennsylvania, 2100, 20% of Pennsylvania will be Amish. So like,
Really?
Yeah, you're gonna have the
Based.
situation again. Brooklyn by like 20.
butter.
There's like a lot of projections by 2070 at this trajectory, things could change. Brooklyn will be as red as Alabama because the Hasidics have such a high birth rate. So
But you know what-
we're going into a world where it's like a lot of people are going to self-filter out of the gene pool, and these uber religious communities are going to like dominate.
That's why the Democrats want the immigration so much.
That's part of it, yeah. But even the immigrants, like look across the world, birth rates are falling even in the third world. And A, that's blowing up all of our economic models. But B, you're gonna have the situation where in Pennsylvania, like you're gonna have to play ball with the Amish. We kind of saw that in the last election.
Yeah.
I mean, the Amish did put their thumb on the scales, and it, in many ways led to Trump's victory.
Thank you, Scott Pressler.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's going to continue. Like there's the timeline that we're entering makes Fukuyama look like the biggest idiot on planet Earth, because it's like there's so many moving parts now. No disrespect to Fukuyama,
Well-
but there's so many moving parts now that it's like you have to start considering these like really sensational things because they're real. They're here.
Remember, what was that story about, like, the guy at the patent office in the 1890s said everything that can be invented has been invented? Do you remember that? What was that all about?
I don't know who said that, but that's obvious. I mean,
Yeah. What a swing and a miss.
Any-
that
I mean,
is.
Oh, where they
Yeah.
call
But-
World War I the Great War. It's the war to
Yeah.
end all wars.
Yeah.
that's something that happens,
war.
you know, in history regularly. People think, oh, well, this is it. We're at the apex of human civilization. We're at the apex of whatever topics, whatever expert thinks that they have expertise on. And then, you know, something happens and there's a massive change, you know?
It is apocryphal. This is Charles Holland Duell. And they said that he's widely known for a statement that he purportedly made during his time as U.S. Commissioner of Patents. Everything that can be invented has been invented. However, it's been debunked as apocryphal by librarian Samuel Sass, who traced the quote back to a 1981 book called The Book of Facts and Fallacies. We'll correct the record for this guy.
Yeah.
He never said that stupid thing. So for most
My
people,
kids
they
invent
believe-
new ways to break things all the time. I'm
Invent it.
shocked on. Yeah, they do invent new ways to break
At
things
some
all the
point,
time.
They just stare at the jar and it levitates and then shatters.
I'm on my third toilet seat upstairs in their bathroom, and I have no idea what is going on. And they
Yeah.
have a pretty clean diet, so I'm not sure if what accounts for it. But
To be fair, to steelman the idea that this was like the end of politics is if you look at the post-war consensus, that was pretty rigid. Like it did feel like that's not going anywhere. It did in many ways feel like, what are we going to do? We're going to have Mitt Romney versus Obama for the rest of our lives. And Trump, the brick through the window, is legitimately the most consequential. That ride down the escalator is the most consequential moment, and probably in our lifetimes. It's going to be in our lifetimes.
You know, I will say
Hopefully.
this, like, I think we had this political decade. If you go back to and it's caused by the economic collapse, which shocked a lot of people. They began asking why it was they couldn't afford to live anymore. Millennials started asking why they couldn't afford to live, have families, buy houses. Gen Z's in a similar spot. But I think Gen Z is very nihilistic. So whereas millennials became activists, Gen Z is like, y'all are stupid. Who cares? And they're largely just like detaching.
Yeah.
And man, you look at the current trends among Gen Z and what people are starting to focus on, sports betting.
Yeah.
I think Gen Z is basically just like, we literally don't care anymore.
Well,
And so you know, my point is like, I remember when I first started making content during Occupy Wall Street, there was this bubbling up of politics in the mainstream. People were interested in it. But I remember when I was younger, nobody cared. Sure, there was protests and stuff, but this was not the popular thing that everyone was focused on. I think we're probably on the back end of this political swing, and I'm wondering if in the next few years, politics becomes esoteric, just I don't know, droll garbage that most people don't care about, and political channels become substantially smaller with less money.
Yeah, I think Zoomers, like 90% of Zoomers ballpark, are either nihilist or political extremists. Like that's
that's
just the
probably
reality of the
accurate.
situation. And I mean, that's just anecdotes, but I think this is reflected in polling. as
I
well.
think with the George Floyd riots, a lot of us expected, man, people are going to lose their minds. And like you said, some of these Gen Z, they're split between extremists and nihilists. But I think for a lot of people, they're going to be like, yeah, I don't care. If you grew up at a time where you saw all of these crises and all these political conflicts and Trump and impeachment and Burisma and all these things, and then nothing happened, and you've got these Gen Z people saying nothing ever happens, why are they going to turn the TV on and pay attention? Why are they going to turn on a podcast and pay attention? They're going to go sports bet.
Well, yeah, the only time they're going to turn on the TV and pay attention is when they see things like the inflation that we've seen. Like it turns
I
into.
don't- I don't think so.
It turns into kitchen table issues, like because
They don't own a kitchen table.
Well, no, I mean
really
they
good
might not.
point.
They can't
True.
pay for their they can't make their Klarna payments, and they're going to
But
be like,
they
oh, you know,
couldn't from the get-go is my point. For millennials,
Yeah.
we like I'm in my 20s and everything starts going bad, but I was already in a bad spot as it was. Gen X largely felt this much more than everyone else. Boomers survived much better, but for Gen Z that was born into a world of nothing,
Yeah, they can't feel loss they've never experienced
exactly.
having. Yeah.
So they grow up hearing about all these problems in politics, and they're like, maybe there's a way to deal with this. I hear what you're saying. But finally, they're like 25, and they're going, bro, you've been saying the same thing for 15 years. Okay, I'm going to go bet on the Steelers game.
Yeah.
You want to change and break the cycle, arrest anyone on that screen. Anyone. Show me that it's real. Show me that the reason I vote up is because this is real. Show me the reason I went to prison is because
Well,
I
this
was
is-
right. Show me that America is still worth saving.
But this is why
arrest
people are
any
mad
one
at
of
Dan
them.
Bongino.
Yeah, I
And it's not
understand
just
that.
Dan. I mean, it's cash too. But Dan's leaving now, and they're making fun of him. I think the reality is you can't stop the machine. I said this of Obama. I said this of every president. I've been saying it for decades. You get elected. You say, when I get in office, I'm going to do this thing. You get in, and then you can't. For 1,000,001 reasons. And it's not always that there's an evil deep state cabal that's like, we'll kill you if you do. It's like you get in office and you say, okay, guys, I want to deal with this border crisis. And they go, well, here's the thing. If we don't have the illegal immigrants, look at all these areas of the country where population decline is setting in and we don't have low-skilled labor to replace the young people who are aging out. That's the Democrat worldview. Trump, the reason they hate him is because he goes, I don't care. Shut the border down. And they're like, but don't you understand you're knocking pegs out from the machine? He's like, I don't care. We can't keep doing the same thing. And that's why people liked what Trump was doing. But basically what I'm saying as it pertains to Dan Bongino, my assumption would be he goes in and says, I want to do something here. You know what I genuinely think happened? The reason the Epstein list doesn't come out is because Saudis are on it, and Trump said, guys, don't screw up the petrodollar negotiations. If the Epstein files come out, we're going to lose this deal. China's going to win.
I think it all comes down to money. It all comes down to money. I mean, if we assume we can list some names on the list, right? And let's say it's a couple of big CEOs of publicly traded companies. You start arresting a handful of those people, you will crash markets.
Yep.
They employ hundreds of thousands of people. I think everything comes down to that. The reason they can't share is because it would destabilize our entire economy.
And so you're told, and again, it's hypothetical. I don't know for sure, but Dan Bongino, a guy like him, he gets in and he goes, we got to put this list out. And they go, see these 3 guys on the list? If they get arrested, we're going to lose an oil contract, we're going to lose an oil pipeline, and we're going to see a 17% collapse of the U.S. stock market because this person holds X amount of, equities with BlackRock and this. And then it's like, crap. And so for a lot of people, they've said to us, I don't care what the ramifications are. I don't care if the U.S. economy tanks because of it. I don't care if it starts a war. Do it. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I get it. Don't protect these people and let them get away with it. But what happens when Donald Trump personally says to you, I will not be the president that watches the union collapse. Please don't do this. Again, not saying this is actually what happened, but I'm saying it's a hypothetical of how the machine works.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.